Miguel Rojas, snubbed. Snubbed for the Gold Glove. Dansby Swanson is your NL shortstop Gold Glover. Does it matter? I don't know. It probably matters to Miggy, but the 40-man crunch has already started. We're going to dig into some of the breaking news and news that Skip Schumacher will meet the media tomorrow, all on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast, and I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up on Twitter, guys, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you are listening to the pod, hit subscribe. Why not? It's available free and everywhere, even through the off season. 5 episodes a week. Continue. We're into November now. Still 5 episodes. I've got you covered all the way through. The World Series heating up. No doubt about it. Philadelphia on fire. But there's going to be a plethora of activity come the end of the World Series, starting with a few decisions that need to be made on the 40-man. Nevertheless, if you're watching on YouTube, hello, greetings. If you aren't and you are listening to the pod, there is a YouTube channel. Also, the content is available there. I'm in my living room. It is dark, very dark. Nevertheless, welcome. Welcome to the Wednesday episode, Wednesday, the 2nd of November of Locked On Marlins. Guys, there's more news. There's just been news article after news article after news article. Even when the Marlins aren't playing, there is still tons happening. First of all, let's look ahead one day. Tomorrow, Thursday, Skip Schumacher meets the media. The media session is happening in Lone Depot. There is no Zoom, unfortunately, so I won't be in the mix. Nevertheless, I'm sure all the guys will have you covered. I believe it's live on Bally Sports too, so really, really excited to hear from Skip. Start to get a read on him. I know he's going to be saying all the right things. Nevertheless, his outlook is going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see what he says, what kind of guy he is, how maybe differently he engages with the media and some of the questions to what maybe Donnie did, and just see what that early indication is on the change of culture. So we'll dig into that tomorrow. We'll talk more about that in terms of what was said, what we've seen, etc. 11 a.m. Eastern, I believe, on the Skip Schumacher intro session. We've also had news yesterday, last night, Tuesday, 1st of November. And unfortunately, it was not good news for Miguel Rojas. Dansby Swanson was named the Gold Glover at shortstop for the NL in 2022. Miguel Rojas, if you look at the majority of the defensive categories, was the leader. He was the leader, but he has not been voted in. The vote, which is towards managers and coaches, and I think it's managers and coaches, maybe players. I don't think it's players. Couldn't be players. Nevertheless, the vote decided it, and they went with Dansby. And for Miggy Ro, I'm sure it'll be disappointing. We have to call out, we watch Miggy daily. We know how exceptional he has been at shortstop. He's been absolutely stunning. However, these awards, as we see, Gold Gloves, like, it isn't just who's the best dude. I mean, they had Juan Soto in the shortlist for right field. Juan Soto is the worst outfielder in the NL, I think. He's absolutely terrible. He's turgid. So it's all about getting the names in the mix, getting the buzz, rewarding some of the MLB's biggest stars. And listen, Dansby Swanson was on a division-winning team. He had another stunning offensive year. He is now a free agent. There's a lot of hype around Dansby Swanson. He's a big name going into a free agent situation. For Miguel Rojas, unfortunately, he's on a terrible Marlins team, and he can't hit and didn't hit last year. And whilst it should just be a defensive award, you can't help but feel that just the overall offensive production kind of bled into this one. Dansby is the best shortstop, or was the best shortstop overall in 2022 in the NL. And so Dansby deserves it. You know, yes, Miggy, less errors, he played less than Dansby. Dansby didn't miss a game, by the way. Dansby was an absolute warrior. Played in every single game. 162 for Lieutenant Dans. And yes, some of Miggy's stats looked a bit better, but it's really close. Really close. And offensively, Dansby's production obviously totally eclipses Miggy. Dansby goes to free agency. We've seen with the Bravos, what have we seen? If they want to sign you, they will sign you. They will extend you. They have been handing out extensions galore this year. Dansby was not one of those guys. The reason being, Dansby's ask perhaps may have been too high. And there are a lot of shortstops knocking around. Like the Braves can find a replacement there. There's a lot of guys around. Maybe they think they can save some dough, don't have to go into the crazy money tier. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that one. But I think for Dansby, it's likely he's had a career year. Yes. He signs a big deal somewhere. Could be a Corey Seager special where he signs with someone that you don't expect and they throw a ton of dough at it. I don't know. A few names, a few teams kind of stand out for me. Clearly, the Dodgers are going to need some help there. But I think the Giants is a real nice fit for Dansby. We'll wait and see. But Miguel Rojas beat out, didn't win the Gold Glove. The interesting bit from a Miggy perspective is, let's think back here. We started to get, murmurs coming through from Miggy. He's had a wrist injury effectively since the All-Star break, in and around that period. He played through it. And then, for whatever reason, he decided to have surgery on the last game of the season, which I didn't really understand, to be honest with you. I was thinking, if you've gone all this way through, why not set the surgery for the day after the season ends? Or a couple of days after? Whatever. Why not be with your teammates on the final day of the year? El Capitan. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why he that's the way it played out. But going back on things, the season was cooked pretty much after the All-Star break. And Miguel Rojas will be disappointed because I think he played through, and I think the Marlins let him play through because he was seeking a Gold Glove. Does it matter that much to a player? I don't know. I think it's probably something to shoot for. But listen, we got to call it out. Like Corey Dickerson won a Gold Glove. Adam Duvall won a gold. Marcell Ozuna won a Gold Glove. Like, really? Is there any legitimacy to any of these awards? And does anyone really care? I don't know. Miggy does care. And listen, defensively, Miggy is an absolute stud and should be recognized for that. He should. And I truly believe, when I sit back and think about it, just nothing adds up. If Miggy's wrist got to a point where it was impacting him that much and he had to go and have surgery on the final game of the year, then was he just trying to man it out to try and win the Gold Glove? Was that the shining light for him? Did he want to be out there accruing the stats, making sure he was in the mix to win a Gold Glove? I don't know. We have to call out for Miggy Ro too. What a warrior. What an absolute warrior. Do you remember when the dude slid into second base and took out Miggy's teeth? Teeth flying everywhere with Miggy. He just strolled off. Next day, just appeared with a new set of turkey teeth. Love to see that from Miggy. I don't even think he missed a game. I think they might have had an off day the next day, and Miggy was straight back in the mix. Great to see. Overall, stunning defensive year for Miguel Rojas. Stunning. Absolutely sensational when you watch it every day. You can't help but be blown away by it. So what that says to me is Dansby must have been amazing too. And he probably was. And from hearing, and seeing Braves Twitter all through the year, they said the same too. But the offensive production wins out. A star player on a star team, it wins out, takes the Gold Glove. Bad news for Miggy. The Marlins have never had a Gold Glove winner at shortstop, I don't believe. He may have a chance to win one in 2023. We'll wait and see on that one. Just to tease it out, there's going to be coming at you very, very soon a off-season preview. What could be done? What should be done? What may be done? All of these topics, because this is when the hot stove really starts to heat up. Obviously, no trades or transactions can take place while games are happening. But with Skip in place and the front office getting in place too, it's going to be time for the Marlins to make some serious noise. Serious noise. They've got everything in place. They need some sticks. Nevertheless, guys, it's time to tell you about our good friends over at Roan. Yes, sir. And the dress shirt, it was due a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Roan's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, flexible shirt known to man. And here's why. Mobility. It's all about mobility, baby. And Roan's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way. From your commute to work to 18 holes of golf or 10 pints of beer. I threw that one in. Looking good is easy, and it's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. No more ironing. No more ironing. The wives will be happy. I'm joking. I do all the ironing in this household. Nevertheless, with Roan's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. Sounds amazing. No one likes ironing. No, they don't. So, the commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next, if that is 10 pints of beer or ironing for your wife. I don't know. Head to roan.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON to save 20% off your entire order. Reminder, that is 20%, 20% off your entire order when you head to roan.com/lockedon. Reminder on that promo code, locked on. Reminder on that spelling. Roan is spelled RHONE. Roan.com/locked on. Okay, guys. That is the Gold Glove done and dusted. The Marlins and Miggy Ro did not win one. They may have a chance again next year. Some roster news then drops. So, we talked about it, and I saw Fish Stripes talking about it too. I've started to think about it as well. How do they solve the 40-man crunch that's coming? With the IL disappearing in a few days' time once the World Series ends, there are currently 48 guys. Actually, no, scratch that. There's now 45 guys. And we'll talk about why, but there were 48 on the roster of 40. You do the maths, 8 have got to go. Or you do the math, sorry. Conscious of the demographic and geographic location of all the listeners, primarily. 8 guys got to go from the 40-man. And the news drops today. We are starting to see some ripple effect on that. So, who have we got that's already gone? Here was the big news, I guess, was Sean Gunther. Sean Gunther he was waived. So he's on the 60-day IL. I think he's had Tommy John, so he's not expected to be pitching a ton. But he was waived and thus claimed. So someone has decided to claim them. Who was it? It was the Tigers, the Detroit Tigers, the powerhouses. So Sean Gunther has been claimed. Then we also have 2 guys that have been waived and cleared waivers. One of which, oh boy, big friend, big friend of many, Jake Fishman. Unfortunately, that's the end for Jake Fishman for now. We'll wait and see. And then also Paul Campbell. If you remember, do you remember Paul Campbell? He's had an interesting career with the Marlins, right? PED suspension, a Rule 5 guy, then also injured as well, Tommy John. So Paul Campbell, he'll pretty much be out for most of 23 as well. He has cleared waivers and has been outrighted. So Campbell and Fishman remain with the organization, outrighted. Sean Gunther claimed by the Tigers. It's now down to 45, so there is 5 spots that need to be thought of. And the reason there's so many spots is there's so many guys on the IL. So you've got on the IL still that these guys need to come off. Bender, Jazz, another big one, Max Meyer, Cody Poteet, Jorge Soler, all these guys are on the IL, on the 60-day IL. So we know for certain that Jazz, Meyer, Poteet, maybe. I mean, that's probably a discussion point. Bender as well. Like these are discussion points because they're going to be out for most of 23. So the Marlins do have a decision to make there. But I'd be shocked if Bender or Poteet end up being guys that are cut from this now. They were obviously, on the big league roster to start in 22. They actually pitched. I mean, Bender was the closer to start the year, and obviously Poteet as well pitched really well in the role, that kind of long man role. At the time, we were working out, should Poteet go into the rotation? If you remember when Eliezer was serving up meatballs. Nevertheless, you'd be shocked if Poteet, Bender are guys that are in trouble here. So there's 5 guys that have got to go. And there's a few of them that are looking interesting and could be considerations. I'm going to dig into this in more detail tomorrow. I'm going to blend the Skip Schumacher stuff tomorrow, and I'm also, maybe actually it'll bleed into Friday, thinking about this. But just to get the juices flowing, the question marks that I've got are around Eliezer Hernandez. For me, he's in arbitration. Eliezer Hernandez, I've just mentioned him. Way too many meatballs. He was in IKEA's canteen all year. The Marlins seemingly moved away from him. He was providing organizational depth, came back in the bullpen a little bit. Where are their heads at with him? Do they still believe in Eliezer? Do they still want to pay Eliezer? If they don't, and there's no options remaining, Eliezer for me is a serious candidate. A shocking one, kind of. We also should ask the question about Lewin Diaz. There should be trade value with Lewin. There should. However, 0 options remaining. Really limited production, apart from Gold Glove caliber first base, if you buy into that. But Lewin Diaz, is that a question? Is it? You've then got, you've got other guys. If you think about it, Jordan Holloway, that's another guy. He's again been hurt many times. Jordan Holloway, not really sure what his future holds. Nick Neidert, another one, not really sure what his future holds. Do the Marlins still believe they've got a few guys coming through that they need to protect? But some of these names, they're going to be seeking some upgrades too. So they need to find a way to move 5 guys off the roster. There's some more obvious guys too. Excuse me. Brian Hoeing, for example, I think is a good one where, he looked like organizational depth, got called up at the back end because, all these guys are on the IL, etc. So I think he's an interesting one. As I mentioned, Nick Neidert, I think could be too. Again, what are they going to do with some of the guys, actually on the IL? Jordan Holloway, I think, being one of them. Maybe Bender, but probably not. So, they've got to make some room somewhere. From a hitting perspective, I guess, what about Hernan Encarnacion as well? Like Encarnacion, not really given tons of opportunities. The Marlins seem out on him. There's no options left on Encarnacion. Yes, they may look to try and trade him. So I guess this is what it comes down to. Are the Marlins going to try and hold on to the guys that perhaps carry an element of trade value, like Lewin Diaz, maybe like Hernan Encarnacion, maybe like, Eliezer Hernandez has proven that he's a major league pitcher. He just had a terrible 22. So maybe the Marlins look to hold on to those guys. In reality, pretty much all of the bullpen could be pretty much waived. Most of the relievers that kind of mixed a match in. I don't think the Marlins are going to miss them, and they should be shooting higher than that. Here's the other thing. Yes, the Marlins roster is full. It's at 45, and they need to get it down to 40. The other thing to call out, other teams, other clubs are going to be in this same situation where they are going to have guys on the IL that need to come off. And guys, there could be some talented dudes that have to be removed from the 40-man. So the Marlins may need to cut even deeper than 5 names right now because there's guys they maybe want to claim on waivers, like the Tigers have done with Sean Gunther. Boy, oh boy, the Tigers roster must be, it must be thin. Thin is the right word for that one. If they're claiming an injured Sean Gunther. Nevertheless, that's the other thing the Marlins need to be considering. Who do they cut to get down to the minimum? And do they create spots to create opportunities to claim guys that may be available via waivers? Like we said, there's a possibility here where the Marlins are waiving guys with big league experience and history. Yes, okay, coming off maybe down years, but it is possible that the same is happening elsewhere. So I think it is really intriguing. I'm going to dig into it in more depth, spend more time getting into the roster specifically in advance. It's probably going to be Friday's episode because I really want to dig into the Skip Schumacher information tomorrow in terms of what we see in his presser, what Kim, Bruce, and Skip get into. I think it's going to be really intriguing. That's going to wrap us up for today, guys. Plenty of news that still happens. Skip Schumacher coming tomorrow. Miggy Ro beat out by Dansby Swanson in the Gold Glove race for the NL shortstop. And also, the 40-man crunch is already starting. 2 guys waived and outrighted. And then also, Sean Gunther claimed by the Tigers. 5 spots left to clear up. I'm going to dig into those. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day and joining me on Wednesday, 2nd of November. I will be back tomorrow, of course. It's a daily pod. So I'll see you then, right after Skip Schumacher intro day. See you then.